Hi guys, welcome to another video. I know it's been a while. Today we're going to learn how to make mango crumble bars. This is only the second time I've made this recipe before. First time was only like 3 days before I recorded this video. And I changed one thing just so that it's crunchier. So I first learned about crumble bars probably a week ago. I've never heard of it before. But apparently you can make it for any fruit. It's a super simple recipe. It's just the baking time is what takes a long time. But a lot of recipes use egg in it for some reason. So I had to kind of piece together multiple ones to make an egg-free version. Okay, starting with the crust. I accidentally melted the butter and the wrapper in the microwave. So don't do that. You want the butter to be room temperature and soft, so you can kind of cut it up and fold it into the mixture. You want a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You can add a tiny bit more honestly if you want. And then about 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Because I didn't fully melt the butter properly, it was kind of clumpy still, so I just mixed in everything after I put in the sugar. Next, we'll add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You can sub it for vanilla paste, a 1-for-1 sub, and that works perfectly fine too. Because I'm using plant-based butter, there's less fat, which means that you need to make sure that your crust mixture is wet enough, or else it won't hold together. You want it crumbly. When you put it and press it down in the tray, it just won't hold and stick together. I like to add about 3/4 cup of whole rolled old-fashioned oats. This adds a little more oatmeal taste to it and crunch. It's completely optional. You can leave it out if you want. If you do decide to leave it out, then add in an extra cup of flour. So instead of 1, it's 2. I believe you should be able to get away with gluten-free flour. If someone makes this with gluten-free flour, let me know. I might try it at some point later on when I get more mangoes. Before you start mixing everything together, preheat the oven to 350 degrees because this time around, I pre-cooked the crust before I added the filling layers. And it's because I wanted the crust to be crunchier. And if your filling is too wet and too much juice in it, if you don't cook the crust before, kind of like a pie, the juices soak in and it gets wet and mushy. And I prefer crunchy things. So that's pretty much the only difference I changed between the first time I did this and this current time I'm doing this. So when you're mixing this, if you have a blender that has a pulse setting, it would go by a lot faster if you use that. Or if you have a pastry blender handle thingy-majigger, then you can use that too, but I don't own any of those. So I use a spatula, and you kind of want to fold it in and stab it. If you look at those handheld pastry blenders, they kind of have like slits in them because you're folding and then you're pushing down, folding over, pushing down and stabbing at it. So you'll do that over and over and over, and you'll see the mixture change from this white floury look to a very, very light brownish color. And when it's all crumbly and everything's properly mixed, that's when you'll stop. So after you keep mixing and mixing and mixing, after a little bit, you'll see that it turns to like this light brown crumbly mix, and that's when you know when to stop. Sorry if your arms are tired by now. Okay, so you want to grab your baking tray, and I like to use parchment paper just because it's always an easy cleanup. You can use an 8x8. I think here I used like I think it's like 7 or 8 by 10, something like that. Just depends on how thick you want your crust, is how big of a tray you're gonna go. And always, it's so much easier to shape parchment paper whenever you just crush it up, and then you can go ahead and fold it in and do whatever you need. So now that we have our baking tray ready, you want to layer the crumble mixture to create your crust. And I find it easiest if you start closer to a corner and then work your way out. If you start from the middle, you kind of have a hard time with getting a consistent thickness. Or if you start from one complete side, you kind of it gets thinner and thinner as you go towards the other side of the tray. Remember to keep back some of the crumble mixture. That way you can sprinkle it on top of your fruit filling. And once you've gotten it all covered up, make sure you press it down nice and hard and you're ready to stick it in the oven. I think I cooked this one for about 15 minutes. I might have actually, if I do it again, I would probably do maybe 17 to 20 minutes. Get it a little harder before I put the fruit filling over it. Baking it though is totally optional. The first time I made it, I didn't bake the crust first. At first, after you let it rest, it's a bit firm and you can like feel the texture difference between the soft mango filling and the oatmeal cookie-ish crusty texture. But after like a couple days of it sitting out, it gets too wet and now it becomes like just one texture together. Versus I like crunchy things, so I decided to try and bake it kind of like a pie crust, where you bake the crust first and then you put the filling in it and then you bake it again. So while that's baking, now we can work on our mango filling. So I pre-cut this mango because I have a broken finger, so it's taking way too long. But it kind of stuck together a bit since I did put it in the fridge until I was ready to make the video. But once I add in, the cornstarch and the sugar and so on, it'll get loose again and juicy. So since the mango I peeled was actually, it's a little whitish and it's a light yellow, light orange. When I tasted it, it was kind of sour, so I skipped adding lemon juice. But you can totally put it if you're a really sweet mango. And because it was a bit sour, I added in a bit extra brown sugar. So instead of 2 tablespoons, I probably put like 3, just to sweeten it up a bit. When you bake it, it will turn even sweeter. And then we add 2 teaspoons of cornstarch to try and make our filling and thicken it up a bit. Try your best to layer the mango evenly. It's kind of hard to do, especially if you have bigger chunky cubes like what I have. If you have smaller ones, it'll be a lot easier. But then you just kind of lose out on that thick mango filling before you get to the oatmeal crust. And after you finish that, you can add on your little crumbly topping over it and shove that in the oven, and that's pretty much it. So it's been, what, a year since I started this channel. This is my 4th video, I think. I did plan on doing more videos and posting more, but I had let someone borrow my tripod for a good like 5 or 6 months, which is fine. But hopefully this year I will be doing a lot more for the channel, baking a lot more. But thanks for watching it. I've been pretty busy with helping my coworkers because some of them brought project cars and they need help with it. I'm not good with cars. I just drive a old truck, my dad's old truck, but then it broke. So that's all my car knowledge. They all have modern cars. But nonetheless, it's a fun challenge. But I will be increasing this channel more. You know, I need a hobby. Plus I don't do friends and stuff like that. I just like food. That's my only lover. Food. Okay, so now we'll put this in the oven for 40 to 50 minutes. The wetter your filling is, the longer you bake it. And you want to just check in on it every so often while it's in the oven. And then when you're done, do not cut it yet. It'll be too moist and it won't be like firm and hold its shape. So let it rest. I let mine rest for overnight since I had worked the next morning and it was late. And this is kind of what it looks like when it's done. Thanks again. Enjoy.